Hello and welcome to episode 84 of the She Must Knit podcast. My name is Erin and thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. I hope you guys had a great week. I've had a pretty good week. Just like last week, it started off really well. I had a pretty good amount of energy. I was able to get a fair bit of work done. I've been working on getting some custom orders finished this week. And then just like last week, earlier today, I was just feeling kind of crappy. But about an hour ago, I started feeling better, so that is good. It's not lasting all day. But yeah, I've had a pretty good week. I'm hoping to get back into some stuff for the shop next week. I've been working on a lot of other things lately, like the advent calendar I mentioned last week, the club shipments, and then these custom orders. And I'm hoping to finally get back into just some regular shop stuff. So next week, provided I feel pretty good, I'm hoping to start getting together some holiday items. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, I've had a pretty good week in terms of knitting. I feel like I've been working on just lots of different things, so I have just a whole variety of stuff in front of me to share with you. So we are going to get started with that. But first, I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. I've got coffee again today, and I'm bringing out a new flavor of my Bones coffee selection that I ordered. So today, I'm going to be enjoying Cookies and Dreams, which is like a cookie and cream type flavor. I haven't tried this one yet. This is the first time I'm having it, so it's all set. And just like all their flavors, it's quite delicious. So I will be enjoying that for the rest of the episode whenever I need a little sip. I still am dealing with a cough. It's just it's very irritating, but yeah, I'm at a functional level. I feel pretty human most days. I just have to avoid cold air and stuff like that. But let's get started with the knitting. So what do I have to share with you today? I have a whole bunch of progress on things that I've started previously, and then I also have a new project that I've started on. So let's start with the things that maybe you are expecting to see, and then I will save the newer items for later. I also have a project that I'm planning on casting on very soon. We will talk about that as soon as the yarn arrives. I've ordered some yarn, and there's a whole to do with that. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So I think we'll start with my November DVD socks. I find I usually start with my DVD socks. It's just a nice little tradition, I guess. Last week I showed you the very, very start of my socks. I think I only had about 4 or 5 rows done. This month I am going to be working with this colorway here called Brisbane, and these socks are going to be for Avery's teacher for Christmas. So I was able to get a little bit of work done on these. I probably could have gotten more done, but I did find a lot of the days this week, even if I was feeling kind of good during the day, by the time Avery got home from school, which is usually like the evenings are usually a really good knitting time for me, and there's a lot of days this week where the evenings I just felt really tired and not like doing very much. So I think I could have gotten further on these, but I'm okay with where I am. So I think last week I was just up here, maybe no further than this stripe here. I've got all the ribbing done, and I have started into the stockinette body of the sock here. I am really, really liking how this colorway is knitting up. Like, even though they're clearly the same colors, I don't think it looks like, it just looks different than what I expected based on looking at the colors in the cake here. And I think I especially like that this particular colorway of hers just has a lot of different stripes. I think last month the color was Puff the Magic Dragon, and I think it was like a 4-stripe repeat. This is like at least 6 stripes. I forgot, I counted them. It's either 6 or 8. But there's just a lot of nice little thin stripes versus thicker stripes, and I really like the effect of it. I'm quite enjoying knitting on these, so I hope that her teacher will like these colors. I kept asking her to ask her teacher what her favorite colors are. I never got an answer, so hopefully she'll like these. But I think I've decided. Last week I was saying how I wasn't sure if I was going to do a pattern. I knew I didn't want to do ribbing on the entire sock, but I still wanted them to fit fairly well. I was going to have a look at the Jangles pattern again and just see if I was going to follow that more closely, but when I did look at that, the leg is pretty much all ribbed, and then there's a bit of ribbing carried down along the sides of the foot, so it would be very close to what I did last month, and I just don't want to do as much ribbing as I did last month. So I think what I'm going to do is just stick with, I did a nice long ribbed cuff to help them stay up. I'm going to do a stockinette leg. I think when I start doing the increases for the triangular heel, I might do that little triangle part in reverse stockinette. That might look kind of neat. And then I'm going to just do a plain foot. So I think I'm going to try them fairly plain. Hopefully they still fit really well. But over the weekend, I actually have a bit of a drive coming up this weekend. My mom and my brother and I and Avery are all heading to the Guelph area for the day, and so I will have some time to knit in the car. And the last time I had that opportunity, I failed to do any knitting. We are going to try and not do that again, and if I can bring these socks and just do a little bit of knitting there and back, hopefully I will make some good progress on these over the weekend, because I have to say, a lot of the projects that are on the table in front of me, I'm really excited about, and like I really want to work on, and it's going to be difficult to spread the time that I have over all of these projects. So that is where I am with my November Desert Vista Dyeworks socks. We are, oddly enough, because it feels like the month just started, we are approaching the middle of the month, which is kind of scary. So I do want to get that first sock done so that I don't want to repeat last month where I was knitting right to the last day. So yeah, we definitely have to get some work done on those. So I think the next thing I'm going to share with you is just a tiny little addition to an ongoing project that I've been working on all year. So I am talking about my mitered square blanket, my Cozy Memories blanket. I think when I showed you my finished October Desert Vista Dyeworks socks, I showed how I just had a tiny itty bitty bit of that yarn left over, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be enough to make a full square in my blanket. So I thought I'm going to do that this week. There was just one evening. These squares are really good for when you want to do a little bit of knitting, but you don't want to take on something that's just, you know, very time consuming or mind consuming. They're just really nice, quick little squares. So that's what I decided to do one evening, is to just put the leftovers of that yarn into my mitered square blanket. And I was right, I did not have enough. I didn't think it was quite enough to do a full square, and you can see I ran out right here. I had to bring in just another yarn from kind of my leftover stash, but I think even though it's not the same pink that's in there, it's still, I think it still complements it. So I was able to get a square in my blanket. I have absolutely none of this yarn left now. And I was looking at the rest of this row, because I need to finish this row by the end of the year so that I can block it off like I have been doing. I like, you can see here, I've explained this before, but there's a black line that I use a black yarn to border all my progress in a given year, and then I put a tag with that year on that kind of section. And so I want to be able to end this year in a block. So I have 7 squares left before I get to the end of this row. And so I figured by the time I do my November socks and my December socks, and then I still have Dennis's socks to finish, so that will be another square. And then I'm hoping to get a pair of socks done for Dennis's mom for Christmas, so that will be a square. That's 4. I only have to fill 3 squares with maybe some yarn that I have just in my stash. So it might not be yarn from projects that I've worked on, but 3 squares, I'm okay with that. And then we'll have to see how I'm going to approach adding to the blanket in the new year. So I was able to do that. I was able to add my little square. I'm very pleased with that. I think the next thing I'm going to share with you is progress on another project that you've already seen, and I was able to add to it a little bit this week. I didn't work on it at all last week, and I have to say I really, really missed it, and I am talking about my exploration station. So one of the goals on my bingo card was to make a circular shawl, and right from the beginning I knew I wanted to make a second exploration station shawl, but with DK or worsted thicker weight yarn, so I could just have a really nice big snuggly shawl. And I have just been so enjoying this project. Like I said, I have made this before, so I am familiar with the pattern. I really enjoy the pattern, and I am really enjoying the yarn colors that I selected. So the last you saw it, I had finished my wedges. So I was almost done my wedges. I had finished most of them, but I was working my way through this final one here. This is the biggest wedge, so I was working my way through that one, and that was the last wedge in that section before it moved on to the next section, which was using the brioche stitch. So that's what I was able to start this week, and you can see that started right here. So if you have never done brioche, I have done brioche, not very many projects. Like I said, I've done this shawl before, and I've done maybe one or two other projects that use brioche. So I thought, okay, it should be no problem. If you've never done it before, I feel like I had a similar reaction to someone, like if you were attempting this project for the first time and you'd never done brioche and you got to this brioche section and you saw the instructions and the abbreviations, you would just be like, what is this foreign language? But I knew I'd done it before. I was like, okay, I just have to take it step by step and it'll be fine, and it has been. So one of the really nice things about this pattern is that Stephen West, who is the designer, has a link directly in the pattern that will take you to a YouTube video for this section, and he takes you row by row, because with brioche you're not just working across one row and then going back along the wrong side. You're doing each row twice with both of the colors. So he takes you row by row with the instructions, and it only took me I think by the time I worked through the third row, so 2 times, but like so you do row 1 and then row 1, row 2, row 2, row 3, row 3. And by the time I got through both sides of row 3, I had gotten a handle of the different stitches, the brioche stitches, and also like what it looks like while you're working on it. So it got to the point while I was working on it, I knew what to do just based on how the stitches looked on the needle. So I was able to do row 4 just looking at the pattern and what the abbreviations were. I knew what to do, so it was becoming much easier. So that is where I am now. So this is the right side here, and you can see that it's more that gray color that is popping towards the front, and then on the wrong side it's the orange color that is kind of peeking through, and that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted those 2 colors to be paired together. I think it looks really, really cool. I'm really liking how this is looking. It's just, I've said this before, but this is just a really striking pattern. I think it is just so well designed. I don't think this brioche section is very big. It's maybe going to be about this big. So that's really nice because you get to enjoy it. It's kind of fun. It's a little bit novel. But then by the time you're like, okay, I've had enough of this, it's going to go on to a new section. So I am really enjoying that as well. Hopefully, I think the goal I gave myself for this month was just to get the next 2 sections done. So this brioche section that I'm currently on, and then I think the next section is maybe a slip stitch section. I'm not sure, but that's my goal for this month, is just to get through those 2 sections. And hopefully that won't be a problem, because like I said, I'm just really enjoying the process of knitting on this shawl and seeing how the colors are combining. And I just can't wait. I've been wearing my original exploration station, and I can't wait to pull this one out once it's done, and it's just going to be extra big and extra snuggly. So that is the other project that I've been working on. And then I think before I show you my new project, because my new project and an upcoming project are kind of tied together, so I think before I show you those, I'm going to show you my little kind of finished object set. And this is not very exciting, but I'm hoping to have a bunch of these done for Christmas gifts, so I've been trying to work on a little bit every week. And I was actually able to do all 3 of these in one day, I think. I don't think it was an evening. I think it was over the course of a day, but I was able to get all 3 done in a day. So that's nice to know. And so I'm doing this as a little set. So I've mentioned before that I'm trying to get 10 dishcloths done by Christmas to give as gifts, and I was able to get 3 of them done this week. So the first one that I did was actually this one here. And I am greatly amused by how the colors lined up as I was going, and they just made this little pattern. So I think for this one I did about 20 chains, and then I've explained before that I do 20 chains and then I do single crochet all the way up until it's a square, and then I usually do 2 rounds as a border. Now for this one, I only did 1 round as a border, because this skein I kept getting knots, and it was really irritating. And when I went to do the slip stitch, the final slip stitch border, after about like 5 or 6 slip stitches, there was another knot, and I didn't want to rejoin it and have another 2 ends to weave in just for like the slip stitch border. So I decided to leave it at just the single crochet border. I left it at that. So this was the first dishcloth, and then I used that same yarn because there was actually a fair bit left in the ball. I used it again, but this time I decided to add maybe 2 chains. I think I maybe did 22 chains for this one because I wanted to see how it would affect the color placement. So knowing that the 20 chains kind of made all the colors line up, I wanted to see what would happen if they didn't line up, and this is the effect that I got with just adding a few more chains. And you can see with this one I was able to do the slip stitch border, and there was a knot in this one too, but it was further down, so I didn't mind. But yeah, I don't know, this yarn is a cotton yarn. It's not one of the more well-known ones, so I forget what the name is, but I haven't been enjoying this because there's like so many knots. Anyway, so that's this one here, and you can kind of see the size difference if I line those up. It's just ended up a little bit bigger. So those are those 2 that are just the plain dishcloth. And then I mentioned last time how I've been enjoying picking up some of that scrubby yarn and making a scrubby dishcloth to go with the sets as well. So I had a solid pink cotton, and then we were at the store over the weekend. We were at Michael's, and I picked up a pink scrubby yarn, and so I held those together. And I do the same thing in terms of the chains and single crochet, except for the scrubby ones I don't do a border, I just tie it off at the end and weave in the ends. So that is my little set. 2 dishcloths, 2 regular dishcloths, and 1 scrubby dishcloth that is going in my little pile. So I think at this point I am up to 6 dishcloths. So next week, if I can get another little set of 3 done, I will be very close to marking off that square on my bingo card, which is exciting. So finally, I have my new project to share with you, and this all started because, like I just mentioned, over the weekend, Avery and I took a little trip over to Michael's. We actually had a lovely morning. There was a local craft, like a holiday craft bazaar fair type thing, and we went to check that out, and we were able to pick up a few little bits and pieces, and then after that we went to Michael's, and I wanted her with me because I wanted to try and find some yarn to make her Christmas sweater. So I think I showed this briefly last week when I was talking about my goals for the upcoming month. I have this pattern here that is in my 60 Quick Knits for Kids book. I'm trying to use patterns that are already in my library instead of buying new patterns this year. And I thought this one would just make a really good, quick, easy Christmas sweater gift for her. I've noticed that the sweaters that she has in her wardrobe that she's grabbing for on a regular basis and wearing are the oversized, really soft, kind of fuzzy, novelty type sweaters that she wears with her leggings versus the, pretty and design, pretty designed sweaters that Mummy has knit her with, nice yarns and stuff like that. She's not grabbing for those. So if she's not grabbing for those, I don't want to take the time to knit those, and I want to knit something that she is likely to grab. So my idea was to knit something like this, which is kind of like your oversized, comfy hoodie. I liked the two colors, and I really had in mind that I wanted to get like a chenille yarn. As much as it is not as fun to knit with those novelty type yarns, compared to other yarns, I knew it was going to make a really, really soft, comfy sweater, and I think she would really enjoy wearing that. So that's what I had in mind. We were going to go to Michael's. I wanted to look for kind of a chenille yarn in some colors that she liked so that I could start her Christmas sweater. Well, it kind of went to plan, but it kind of didn't. So we've gone in a new direction, but I will tell you about that in a moment. So when we went there, it was actually, it was pretty lucky because all the yarns were on sale. So quite often there'll be certain yarns on sale, or you have to use a coupon, but you can only use a coupon on one item. So I don't usually use coupons when I'm buying yarn because you need more than one ball, but all the yarns were on sale. So we were looking for some chenille yarns, and they had a bunch in the baby section, but they were all kind of baby colors. Didn't want that. And then we ended up finding this Bernat blanket yarn. However, they didn't really have this in the solid colors that I kind of had pictured for this sweater. So we decided we were going to go with a plan B. She liked this colorway. We looked it up online to see how it knit up, and she did like it. She just liked the combination. So I was like, okay, I'll pick this up. I picked up a few balls. I think they were 50% off. And I was like, maybe I just won't I'll follow the pattern. It just won't be the two-tone design. It will just be all one color. So I think that day I cast it on and I started, and I got a couple of inches through, but I didn't like the fabric I was getting on the needles size that I chose. I think I started with maybe an 8mm. Didn't like that, so I ripped it all out, and I went down to I think a 6mm needle, and I started again, and I got another couple of inches done, and I decided, you know what, I'm like, this is just not what I had in mind. I really liked the look of this with the two colors, and I pictured it in two colors that she would like. So maybe like a pink for the main body and purple for the sleeves or something like that. That's what I pictured. I thought it would really go well with her leggings. The way that this particular yarn was knitting up, I couldn't envision what she would wear it with. It was kind of, the colors were kind of all over the place, and when I showed it to her, she said that she liked it. She was okay with that, but it just wasn't what I wanted. So I ripped it out again, and I decided what I was going to do, and I haven't told her this, so it's kind of a surprise. I was going to make her a blanket with the yarn that we bought, so something that she could cozy up on the couch with when she's watching her shows, and then I would get the yarn for the sweater somewhere else, and so she'd get, essentially for Christmas, she's going to get a blanket and a sweater. So what I have to share with you today is the progress on the blanket that I've been working on, and I'm much happier with it. I think this colorway works so much better as a blanket. So this is what I've got done so far. I am not following a pattern for this. Whenever I do blankets, I always do crochet. I just do not have the patience to knit blankets, and especially when it's this nice thick chenille yarn. I just don't find you really need to do a pattern. So I'm kind of doing the same thing that I've been doing with the dishcloths. I just did a big chain so that it was about the length that I thought would be a good start, and then instead of single crochets, I've been doing half double crochets because it just grows a little bit faster than single crochets. And for a blanket, I don't mind it being a little airier. For dishcloth, I want that to be more dense, so I do the single crochets, but for a blanket, it can be a little airier. I have done blankets where I do double crochets, and I find those are almost too holy, so I like the half double crochet. So that's what I did. I did a whole big chain, and then I've just been doing half double crochets up, and I like how the colors are dispersing. I like how they're kind of spread out evenly. it's going to be hard to kind of get an idea of the length that I got, but that is what we have there. And this is 1 ball. So the piece that you see here, that is 1 ball's worth. And based on that, I think I'm actually going to have to go back and pick up 1 more ball. I measured this and it's giving me about 9 inches. I bought 3 balls. So 27 inches is just, if I treat, originally this way was going to be the width and I was going to do the length. I think this has ended up being a long enough length for her, so I'm just kind of working on the width, and 27 inches is just a little narrow for what I would want. So I think if I get one more ball, it's going to give me 36 inches, which I think is a better width for her. And then if I have extra, I might do like a little border or something like that. But this section here, getting through 1 ball, took me 1 day. So I really do think it's going to be a fairly quick project. Whenever I just have a day that I can dedicate to working on this blanket, I know I can get through 1 ball, and I'm just going to have to go back to Michael's, maybe with a coupon, pick up 1 more ball of this yarn, and I should be set. But that brings us back to the sweater debacle. So again, this is what I have in mind for her sweater. And I went online and I checked out, Yarn Canada is a website that I have ordered from before. They have a lot of your kind of Paytons and Bernat yarns. They also do have like Cascade and Malabrigo and stuff like that, but they have a lot of your kind of standard brand yarns, and I thought maybe they would have some kind of chenille in solid colors because I couldn't find any that I liked at Michael's. And they did, and for a moment I thought that was all set. I ordered a pink for the main body, and then I ended up ordering a black for the sleeves. I thought that would be just kind of a nice striking combo that would go with a lot of her clothes, because she has a lot of leggings that have a black background with pops of like bright pinks and purples. So I just thought that would be something that would easily go with a lot of what she has. And then I also added I think one other ball of a different color for another project that I'm thinking of. Well, today, right before I sat down to record this, I was checking my emails, and there was an email from Yarn Canada saying that the pink that I ordered is back ordered, and they're probably not going to get it in for about a month. And that's getting a little close to Christmas for me. So they just wanted to know if there was another color that I wanted to substitute, and I went through all the colors, and half of them, like there were so many that were back ordered. So I finally decided on a different pink. It's not my first choice pink, but honestly, if she didn't see the 2 pinks, she'd probably not care it's pink. So I picked a different pink to go with the sweater that I think will still be okay with the black. Hopefully that goes smoothly. I haven't heard back, but hopefully that goes smoothly and they can just put my package together and get it sent out so that I can start on that project as well, because yeah, I think once I start it, it's going to be a very quick project, but I would like to make sure that it is done in time for Christmas. So that's kind of an upcoming project, and then I have this new blanket project along with the other things that I'm working on. I'm really enjoying it, but I think that is all I have to share with you today. I would love to know what you are working on. Talking about gifts though, gift knitting, this reminded me. If you have not checked out the Bling Your String group recently, there is a thread in there. We are doing a make-along till the end of December that is just, it's gift themed. So anything that you are making over the next 2 months that you are going to be giving as a gift, any kind of craft, you can enter it in this make-along. So go check that out. I know a lot of us are working on gifts right now. But yeah, so other than that, I think that's all I have to share with you this week. I hope you have a fabulous weekend filled with lots and lots of crafting, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.